I would like to call to order this Board of Education meeting. It is Monday, March 14th, 2022. It is 6:04 p.m. We are in the Nashua North Boardroom. It is still sunny outside, so it feels weird to be here. Ms. Raymond, can you do the roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Darling?
Here.
Mr. Claffey?
Here.
Ms. Giglio?
Here.
I'm here. Ms. Lampier?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Seam is not with us this evening. Ms. Johnson?
Present.
Ms. Bishop?
Here.
Okay. We also have Mr. Rogers and Mr. Smith, our student representatives. We have our superintendent, Dr. McKinney, assistant superintendent, Dr. Sarfty. We have our CFO, Mr. Donovan, and our director of HR, Ms. Carey. And then we have a number of guests this evening. Do you want me to? What did I say?
Smith.
I'm sorry, Samay. I don't know what happened. Mr. Sahu, I apologize.
No worries. The mistake happens a lot, so.
No, I don't know. I don't know what I did. Other attendees this evening are Mr. Burns and students from North. And from Amherst Street, we have Mr. Adamakis, Ms. Blackwell, Ms. Purcell, and Ms. Smith. So, once again, apologies. I don't think I missed anybody. No? Okay.
Okay. Would you mind leading us in the prayer? And then Ms. Brown, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Hi. Almighty God, we have the high honor and the serious duty of managing the educational institutions of our beloved city. In our common endeavors, may we find a spirit of unity and understanding which will enable us to face our multiple problems with an objective mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, so we do have some presentations tonight. However, before we start these, I want to address what our students experienced at our last meeting. I was made aware of this the next day. I understand that normally in the crowd we have some cheering and some jeering and some mocking and some yays. However, when we're doing that when students are speaking, it reflects very badly on us as a district. When our student reps and when our student citizens were speaking, they were mocked, they were being sworn at, they were being told to shut up. This is not behavior that is appropriate at students. It's not appropriate at adults. It's not appropriate for our board. It's not appropriate for Nashua. I want to apologize to the two of you. I had you sitting over there, and I did not hear what was going on. And I want to apologize to your parents, because we're the adults here, and you're the students, and we've taken it on as a responsibility to ensure that you're safe and that you grow up into adults who are respectful, and that starts off by treating you with respect. So I want to apologize to your parents and to you because we failed you the other night. Common courtesy, professionalism during professional meetings are important. Currently, we have heckling, bullying, and unprofessional behavior. I want whoever was saying those things to the students, mocking the students during the meeting, to take a look at whatever their own moral compass is. And if you feel that it's appropriate to speak to children that way, I think it's important for you to maybe go and speak to whoever guides you in your decision-making to readdress how you're speaking. I don't feel that swearing at children, mocking children, or bullying children is ever okay. I call upon our membership on the board to be upstanders. If you know these people who need to fine-tune their moral compass, help them. Encourage them to be respectful of everyone and their opinions. And by all means, if something racist is said, we need to call it out. Telling a student they need to go back to their country is completely inappropriate. I am shaking, I'm so furious at this. While it is not illegal to say something like this to a child, it is morally repulsive. And you know what makes me most sad about this situation is when the students called me to tell me what happened, their first response was, I probably just need to grow a tougher skin. That is absolutely not what children are supposed to do. They are supposed to be treated with respect, they're supposed to be treated with care and kindness. And choosing to talk to them as an adult is an affront to everything that we stand for in education. And I hope that we never experience that again. And if it happens again, this meeting will stop, the behavior will stop, and the people will be leaving this room. The one reason we are all a part of this community is for these students. And if we are going to treat them badly, what is the point of being here? Again, I apologize to you guys. I apologize to your parents. And I apologize to everybody else who had to hear this conversation and heard it and didn't see me do anything about it because I did not hear it. We have extremely well-educated children here and in the audience, and they are exactly what we're here for, and we need to respect them for it. So I would like to not have to ever have this conversation again. I value you, I respect you, I think you guys are just amazing. And please, if people on the board hear this kind of, whatever was going on in the audience and it doesn't look like I'm hearing it, please stop the meeting, let me know and I will deal with it, okay? So thank you very much. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you. I want to say thank you for calling people out in the audience, but I just have a question. You're talking about decorum. And how do you expect people to feel in the audience when you see people, when you treat members of the board and you ask them to leave because of medical conditions, and that's discrimination?
Paula,
there shouldn't be,
Paula, we're talking about children.
I am
There is a
talking about
huge
children.
difference between what I asked you to do and how these children were treated.
Listen to what I'm saying.
No,
you're
I
stopping.
am not.
I
This is
think
not
it's
a
wrong
conversation we're going to
exactly what
continue
they
to have.
did.
Ms.
It is
Johnson, I don't
horrible.
care.
It's
They're
terrible
children.
what they did.
We do not treat
They should
children
never have
like
been
that.
treated like that. Nobody should be treated like that, no matter what. We have to respect everybody, no matter what, and that's what I was bringing up here before you interrupted me. I think it was disgusting what happened. I did not hear what happened. If I would have heard it, I would have said, excuse me, point of order, and we would have stopped that meeting. I did not hear until after the fact, later in the evening, after the meeting was over with, somebody mentioned it to me. No, it should never have happened here, and we have to be respectful because they are members of this team here. They are one of us. They might be younger than us, but their opinion matters and it counts here. So nobody should be treating anybody with disrespect on the board. So if you let me finish what I was saying without interrupting me, it might have been better, because respect. Thank you.
Thank you. So, anyway, we have our presentations now. I'm sorry you're following that. But I guess Amherst Street is going first. Sure. So, Mr. Adamankis, Ms. Blackwell, Ms. Purcell, and Ms. Smith.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. We are very happy to be here. And the point of our presentation here tonight is, as we returned to probably one of the most normal years in the last 3 years to start the school year, we knew coming into the 2021-22 school year that students missed a lot, and there was going to be some regression. So what we decided to do, with the idea of Mrs. Purcell and Ms. Smith, they came to us early before the school year started to Ms. Blackwell, oh, she's right behind me, to Ms. Blackwell and I, and they had an idea. And if anything, we always try to convince our staff, try something new. It could be an epic fail, or it could be a success. Don't be afraid to jump in that water and be a swimmer. Don't just be a lifeguard and watch everyone else jumping in the water. Try something new. So their idea was to departmentalize grade 2 for our readers workshop, and to looking at the test scores at the start of the school year and where they are now. Ms. Blackwell is going to give you some of the bullets, and if you have any questions for Ms. Smith and Mrs. Purcell, they'll be happy to answer them. But it was very exciting, and I don't want to be repetitive and redundant. Ms. Blackwell has it all laid out for you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. So when the teachers came to us to present this idea of a co-teaching readers workshop, I like to start with why. And as Mr. Adamakis pointed out, these teachers had examined the data, and knowing that there were larger than typical gaps, a lower learning level of the incoming second graders than what you might typically see. And they also knew and understood the benefits and felt that it could be the best way to maximize learning. And when they discussed some of these benefits, it's things that they presented to us, and it's also things that throughout this school year they've discovered to be beneficial, include ideas such as continuous learning, so that when you have this co-teaching model, even if one teacher is absent, the learning continues because they are all gathered together, where the other teacher can help the substitute pick up where the absent teacher left off. It's an opportunity to also be able to combine students between the two classes so that you can have a better size of grouping to meet their instructional needs at their instructional level. They do get paraprofessional support, but rather than that paraprofessional having to devote in their ELA time block, half the time in one classroom and half the time in the other classroom, the paraprofessional is with the two teachers and all the students the entire time to be able to service the students who need that support. The students also benefit for their exposure to different teaching styles. Clearly, these two teachers are a team and they work very well together, and they have the same teaching philosophy, but everyone is different in their styles, and the children therefore get a little bit of Ms. Smith's style, a little bit of Mrs. Purcell's style in their learning. So the teachers basically combined the science of reading with balanced literacy. And they have levelized reading groups. They have a lot of hands-on opportunities for the children to practice their phonics. They do word work, reading, and writing all in the workshop. And their approach also allows for a lot of student autonomy and choice. Choice in their literature, in which activities they want to do for their practicing of their skills, and in the way that they can access their curriculum through actual hands-on books, online books, videos, games, and whatnot. And what they've discovered in looking at their data, and this data really is only from September till February, so right about the halfway mark of the school year, in a nutshell, over 50% of our second graders have achieved at least 1 year's worth of growth from where they began to where they are now. So hats off to the teachers. At the time of February when they collected this data, 44% of the children had achieved a year's worth of growth from where they began in September to February. 6% made 1.5 years worth of growth, and 3% made a 2-year gain in their learning in reading from September to February. And really just the work that these two do, it doesn't matter when I'm popping in to see the kids and to see these teachers in action. It's always such a productive, engaging environment when you step into that readers workshop. So we're proud to share this information with all of you tonight. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I want to say thank you, first of all, for hearing that we're getting such growth, because my biggest fear was children were going to be lagging behind, especially in the reading. So are your classrooms close to each other? That you, they're combined into one room, is that it?
So our classrooms are about a room away from each other, but
You have to talk into the microphone.
oh, sorry. Our classrooms are around the corner from each other, but Mrs. Purcell's class joins into my classroom every day.
Okay, so there's enough room for all the students?
Yes,
How many
I'm fortunate
students?
to have a big classroom.
Okay, and how many students are there?
Total, we have 32.
32. 32, and they're doing such marvelous work.
Yes.
Well, that's good. I just wanted to congratulate you and say thank you. That's really wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just in closure, if there's anyone wondering, well, where are we going next? My hope is that these wonderful ladies will present to our staff and encourage the benefits of departmentalizing and hopefully building upon that. We'll see if we can get that enthusiasm from our staff. But this is, the proof is in the pudding. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Ms. Lampier?
I did have a question. I was wondering, are there only 2 second-grade classes at Amherst Street, or?
Yes, yeah, we're fortunate.
okay.
Our numbers are small. We have 2 second-grade classrooms, 3 third, 2 fourth, 2 fifth, 3 kindergarten, 3 first grade.
Oh, it's good. I was just wondering if everyone, all the second graders in the school were getting exposed to this.
Yep, all second graders are experiencing this.
All right, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much,
you.
everyone.
Thank you. And now Nashua North, Mr. Burns.
Good evening, and thank you again for inviting us here. Tonight, we want to talk a little bit about a solution that some of the students came to us with. So obviously, over the last few years, pandemic has been difficult for all of us. And one of the things that we knew coming into the year as administrators was that students were going to have some challenges this year. And we definitely saw that coming in with a lot of different behaviors, not only here, but across the state, and talking to other principals that I meet with regularly and also across the country. We saw things that we didn't typically ever see, or we saw a volume that we had never seen before. And we'd been scrambling and trying to determine what's going on and how we can help our students to not only, become more accustomed to being back in school, but also to learn how to socialize and to work with peers and things like that. And fortunately, over time and as the school years progressed, we've started to see some of these behaviors kind of get back to what they were prior to the pandemic and where we're at, but we're still not where we want to be. We're always looking to improve and trying to get students into becoming better citizens and focusing on not only on their education, but how they can be as individuals. So a lot of times we find things that our students come to us with are some of the best solutions. So Ms. Merrill's journalism class this year saw this issue that was going on, and they took it upon themselves to do some research and try to come up with a potential solution for us that we're kind of excited about and would love to see. So I'm going to invite Mrs. Merrill up along with their students, and they're going to talk a little bit about what they've found.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. We are Ms. Merrill's journalism class, and we're here to talk about restorative justice. If you're unaware of what that means, you'll definitely learn today, so that's good. There we go. As we were practicing this presentation, we realized something was missing. The why are we here, why us? We talked about it, and long story short, we noticed an issue. And in this class, we are told to be journalists, and when journalists notice a problem, they don't ignore it, they shed light on the problem and find a solution. So we did just that, and that's why we're here to share it with you today, our research, our hard work. But first, introductions. I'm Talon Grant, Nashua High School North Junior.
So, hi, my name is Melody Burrows, and I'm a senior at Nashua High North. I'm sure by now everybody knows about kids vandalizing, stealing school property, and the increase in fighting. It's something that has been brought up multiple times throughout the school year so far, but I'm not sure if people really understand how much it's affecting the kids at North, at least like since my freshman year. If you come to our school, you can ask almost any student, and they'd be able to tell you either about a fight they saw, a fight they were in, or a fight that their friend witnessed. With multiple fights happening every day since the start of the school year, pretty much everyone has a connection with at least one. For example, about 20 feet away from this room is a North School store called T-Stop. It's a place where kids will go to buy snacks or eat lunch at the tables. So a couple of months ago, I was standing by the entrance when a whole group of boys gathered around, and they were laughing and joking. I didn't pay much attention to it. That was until one kid just turned towards another and just punched him in the face. He fell to the ground, and everybody started laughing. When he got up, he was holding his face. He hurried away, and the bell rang for everyone to get back to class. At North, we have administrators that stand by the entrance of the cafeteria and by the main staircase, but nobody seemed to notice. No students reacted around the group, and that could be either they didn't notice or violence has gotten so common at our school that nobody reacts anymore. Over the past year, there's been a noticeable increase in problematic student behavior. And in our opinion, instead of focusing all efforts on punishing students, there should be a way to prevent these small problems from escalating. And to do that, we should try building more of a community at our schools.
Hi, my name is Maria Torlides, and I'm a sophomore at Nashua North. So restorative justice allows students the chance to learn conflict resolution skills and helps build more of a community in our schools. This practice could be the answer to the behavioral problems we see here at Nashua North the last few months. Its main focus shifts away from the punitive methods and instead focuses on rehabilitation and reconciliation for both the offender and the community as a whole. The movement as we know it today started in 1974 with the Kitchener experiment, where a New York parole officer required 2 teenage vandalists to meet with every property owner they victimized. A decade later, this practice spread across North America and Europe, and in 1994, the American Bar Association officially endorsed victim offender mediation. Schools across the globe have easily adopted their own versions of restorative justice. It's an umbrella term, meaning it can take on many different forms, one of the most common being a peer mediator program. In this program, the parties involved agree to mediate and share their stories. Next, they express what they need in order to reconcile, and the mediator can help them evaluate their options. The end goal is to come to a win-win situation where both sides can restore harmony.
Hi, I'm Lily Schoonover. I'm also a senior at North. The Wested Justice and Prevention Research Center report that those who punished with punitive methods, the system that we use currently, often feel pushed out of the system. They believe that this can end up with a rift forming between the staff and students, which lessens the overall learning experience. One of this organization's central theses is the idea that this contributes to the school-to-prison pipeline. And just based on the name alone, that makes too much sense. Being punished for a few offenses can turn into 10 or 12, and suddenly they're an adult and that's just all they know. The system that we're using currently has no evidence of long-term impact. The National Education Policy Center agrees, stating, restorative justice programs have helped reduce exclusionary discipline and narrow the glaring racial disparities in how discipline is meted out in schools. Restorative justice helps mend the damage done and become a learning experience in one fell swoop. All they need is the offer.
My name is Mary Holland. I'm a senior here at North. So what would restorative justice look like here at North and in the rest of the district? In the initial rollout of the program, a few bumps in the road are to be expected. In our research, it became clear that the largest obstacle to a successful program was a lack of willing participants, including both offenders and victims, mediators, and staff support, which often led to programs fizzling out before they could make a noticeable change. Ideally, faculty members would be trained in restorative practices and be equipped with tools to implement them in school. A few teachers here at North have already been trained in restorative justice with a program from Suffolk University. Another source we found is restorativejustice.com, created by Dr. Tom Cavanaugh, who's a professor, and he works a lot with restorative justice research. These sources have numerous training courses on the basic principles and applications of restorative justice. The training would take time and resources, so instead of trying to train every teacher, we would start with a smaller group. One proposed group is the freshman E-Block teachers. The next step after successful training would be to introduce the program to the freshmen, as they're the most likely to adapt to the change. The system can be introduced as an option for small behavior-related infractions, but it's important to keep in mind that it's not meant to replace our current way of handling situations. We recognize that there will be times when a student just needs to be taken out of the situation with little to no time to use restorative practices. But our belief is that if we can change how we solve the smaller issues now, they will stop growing into larger issues later. It's also important to emphasize that this is completely voluntary and we can't force anyone to take part. Our primary goal is to offer alternative solutions that may help fix the ongoing behavioral issues here at North, and should it be a success, implement them throughout the district. There is currently a proposal for restorative justice here at North, and it's only a matter of getting the proper funding approved. That is why we bring this issue to you, the board, in hopes of getting your support to push for restorative justice here at North and the rest of the district.
Hi, my name is Claire Rogers. I'm also a senior here at North. The task of rolling out this program may seem like a big task, and it is. In JROTC, we have decided to adopt this practice for semester 2. Cadets are students too, and we've been experiencing similar behavior problems around the school in our own program. And in years past, we've typically kicked out these students because we have a very low tolerance policy for behavior like this in a program like JROTC. But going forward, like I said, we're going to be adopting this idea of restorative justice. We're going to be placing certain cadets on a probation period should they exhibit these behavior problems. And during this period, they'll be asked to mend the relationships they hurt, and if they choose not to, then that's when they lose their cadet status. This is just a pilot program. Like I said, we are just starting this, but we think this has the potential to positively impact the culture of our program and lead the school by example. The country is slowly transitioning to this idea of restorative justice. School districts in large cities like Los Angeles and Boston, and in small ones too, like in Pittsfield, New Hampshire, have already seen great strides in this program and have seen a positive impact in their school districts. This is a movement that holds a lot of promise and could have the potential of having long-lasting effects here at our own school. My hope and the hope of the students standing next to me is that North will be part of this giant wave of revitalization of the Nashville school system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Ms. Raymond?
I think my question is for either the students or Mr. Burns. You mentioned that one of the barriers to having a rollout with the idea of having it for the freshmen is cost. Does anyone know what the cost of doing the training, and I assume train the trainer trainings?
Yeah, so we had put together a proposal through ESSER funds, and actually talking to Dr. McKinney, we're fortunate that it has been approved in this next round, so we're really excited to be able to do that. Our game plan right now is to train 10 leaders at each of the 2 school buildings, north and south. And then from there, we'd have another group of about 20 teachers that would be part of that first wave of training. And then the hope would be to bring that and start implementing that. So part of the beginning training is kind of circles, which basically builds community within classrooms and things like that. But it also can be used if you have conflict between 2 individuals, that they can sit down together and talk about what's going on, and you have a mediator that kind of walks them through the process. There are certain schools that use peer mediation. Other schools use staff members that help mediate. I think the peer mediation piece is something that takes a little bit longer to get to that point as you start training students and as they get older and have gone through the process. But we're excited that it has been approved. Now it's just a matter of kind of figuring out all the logistics and where we're going to go next.
Okay, so,
This was, a lot of this was from the journalism class from first semester, so, they did all their work as, we were getting back, so I told them just the other day, or told Mrs. Merrill the other day that we had heard it was approved for us, so.
it's very impressive, especially all having the money lined up, which makes me very happy.
Yep,
And then my follow-up question is, do you anticipate any needs from the board moving forward as far as policy changes or other approvals to get this running?
Possibly, I would think probably student behavior standards may need to be reviewed and revised depending on where we go in terms of suspensions and things like that that might occur based on different behaviors that occur during the school. But at this point, I think we could probably utilize this as a pilot or in addition to some of the stuff that's already spelled out within JIC.
So my question then is for you and Dr. McKinney. Are you looking for a motion to support a pilot of this, or do you think it can just go forward as is?
Well, since we're gathered here this evening, we could accept the motion, or that would be great, or you could defer it to C&E. The current allotment in the ESSER grant is $26,000 over 2 years for restorative justice training at North and South.
Okay.
I know who the note taker is.
Huh?
Just waiting for you to finish your notes.
Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure I've got it down at North and South. Okay, I would like to make that motion, but I don't think we should vote on anything until we've had public comments.
I always agree with that.
So does anyone have an objection to,
Waiting?
yeah, waiting?
Ms. Brown?
I don't have a problem waiting, and I think it sounds like a great program. I kind of would like to know a few more of the details about it, so I'm wondering if it would be worth sending it to committee to discuss. I don't know, just to hear how the implementation process is going to go. Is it, I don't know, it just seems like it could be, it's very interesting. I think the concept of the pilot is good. I'd actually like to know how the process works, like how a student would enter into either a peer or a teacher-led mediation and that kind of thing. I think there's some value to that.
Do we know if that's something that is more organized and laid out through the training process?
Yeah, that's my assumption based on discussions with Suffolk University. They kind of lay everything out and develop that leadership team. So that would be kind of down the road before we'd be able to come back with something like that as far as exactly how it would look.
But we wouldn't necessarily know it until we invested in it, right? Okay. Dr. McKinney?
If the board would like an overview at a C&E meeting, we could present that. But in terms of compliance with policy, this does fall into remedial measures around peer counseling, peer mediation, community service, community support, community circles, all that is a part of it. So it has a lot of pieces to it, but it's nothing that we haven't done before. So if that's helpful to the board, I just wanted to share that.
Mr. Claffey?
I was just wondering if we had approved any other ESSER funds, ESSER-funded programs without public comment. Because if we have,
Not programs.
well, programs of this size, I don't, what you would, is that the wrong name for?
I would ask Mr. Donovan or Dr. McKinney to explain how the ESSER funds work.
So by policy, all purchases or requests over $10,000 require board approval. It doesn't mean that all require public comment. Many of them come through committee, and there is an opportunity for that and an opportunity at public comment. Mr. Donovan, did I miss anything? So that's pretty much our process right now. Mr. Donovan gave an update on ESSER funds back in October, November-ish, planning on another update coming soon because we have to do that every 6 months. So I just sent a report up to the state. I'm waiting to hear back from them. They always give great critical feedback, and then I'll revise the piece then, give it to Mr. Donovan, and then we'll have another update for the board.
Can I just follow up? So if we were to approve this tonight, this wouldn't be an unprecedented move, right? We've done it before. So.
I'm not opposed to approving it tonight, but I recognize that I have had grad school classes in restorative justice, so I'm a little bit more well-versed, and I'm trying to take a beat because I know not everybody else is. So if other people want a little bit more education on what it is and what the program is, I respect that.
I just hate to see the seniors who only have a couple months left not, I mean, would the seniors, your seniors be able to start this before they leave and graduate?
I don't know how long the training will take place, but I would love to see, obviously, their hard work and thoughts come to fruition a little bit, or at least to have them see the seeds planted.
I can't guarantee or FedEx or Amazon the training here in a quick fashion, but the reality is, I would hope the board would consider giving the district as many opportunities and resources to help kids come out of the pandemic. We're not going to punish our way out of it by, unilaterally giving consequences. So the funding's there. It's not really going to go anywhere. If the board's asking for more information, we can do that, but we could see what the training schedule is and come back with a later update.
We don't have to approve it tonight. There's no danger or risk.
Ms. Johnson?
Thank you. I want to applaud our students for a great job in bringing some of this detail to light. I think it's really sad what's happened after this pandemic, that our students, that there's behavior problems. What I'd like to know, and I think I really would like to see a presentation more on this so we get a better idea, so we know what we're voting on, seeing if we have to tweak anything, is that what happens if you can't get that student's behavior to be under control after several peer counselings or sitting down? That's what I would like to know, basically. I know we have behavior problems. We're having a lot of them, and I know what we have in the policy here, but I want to get a better idea, what's the next step if that student continues to be a behavior problem? So that's what I want to see in this. I think that it really should go to a committee. Would it be curriculum or would it be policy? Both of them, really. Well, it has to be a policy that might have to be amended.
I think we can make a motion to, I don't know.
I can just send it to a committee.
I think curriculum. Ms.
When's the
Brown?
next curriculum meeting?
I think you've got three pieces. You could send it. You could do the funding through finance. You do the process and procedure describing how the process works through curriculum, and then the amendments to policy, which are all next week, I believe. So it might actually be able to get done by the 28th if we talk about it through policy.
Thursday is finance.
But you could, that's what I'm saying, you could do 1, 2, 3 and talk about each pieces, bring them together. But, or you could fund it all, you could actually approve the funding through curriculum as well. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. I just think it would be good to have a little bit more question and answer session, since it's a pretty fresh presentation and, something to look at a little bit about it. But I think I'm not opposed to the program. I think the program sounds great. The kids have put a lot of effort into it, and I really appreciate the presentation tonight, ladies. But I think it might be good to have a little bit more feedback.
Right, so I would ask that it go to curriculum in that case, because policy, I have full agendas of things that are required by law to be done for both March and April, and maybe into May.
Dr. McKinney?
I just want to caution the board in sending it to committee, it should be informative. I already spoke to that. I believe we're in compliance with the policy, so we're not amending policy. And it would be a change in practice for the board to begin approving all ESSER and grant requests. That would slow down the system to a snail's pace and prevent the district from gaining approval and resources in a timely fashion when we're trying to recover from a pandemic. So I would just ask for both understanding in the information and the approach, and if it's not working, we're not going to keep doing it, but to take the whole picture into consideration when such a presentation is being given. Thank you.
Any questions? Ms. Lampier?
I just wanted to thank the students and the whole journalism class. I am continually amazed by the students of the Nashua High Schools. It's really an honor to be affiliated with the school district. You guys do such a great job, and I could never have done anything like that when I was in high school. So thank you. Thanks.
Ms. Darling?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Ms. Johnson had just asked the question about, for the people who continue to reoffend. You had mentioned that the program is optional, and I'm assuming that would go both ways. So if someone trained a teacher were to say, you know what, this isn't the program that's going to work for this student, it would then go the traditional route, I assume?
Yeah, I think we try to do a lot of different things with our students anyway, aside from following, restorative practices would be a nice program to follow and have things kind of set out and laid out for us, but we do try to do a lot of the mediation piece already. We do try to, provide alternative consequences. Maybe a kid goes to Saturday school versus staying after for detention or staying in school so that they can attend their classes and then come in on Saturday to make up some work and things like that. So we do have some alternative discipline practices that we're already utilizing for various things. I also think, depending on whatever it is that the student did, as the student said earlier tonight, like sometimes restorative practices or restorative justice isn't the way to go, and that we do have to get them out of school for an extended period of time. And even after they've been suspended, we still try to have meetings with students to kind of bring them back into school and figure out what we can do to help support them. And a lot of this stuff falls kind of right into that. Do they have to meet with social workers? Do they have to meet with school counselors or school psychologists or any of the other programs and things like that we have in school? So we're continuing to try to find ways to support our kids, and this is just another way that we can do that.
Thank you.
Mr. Rogers?
Just for clarification, so the focus is on freshmen, but the restorative justice, like a sophomore or a senior could experience that as well.
Certainly, I think, the proposal that they were discussing tonight, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that maybe start the larger scale piece with that, but a lot of it, I think, could come to, having staff members that are working relationships or restorative practices with two seniors that might be in conflict, or a senior and a freshman, or a senior and a sophomore, or something like that. So I think it would be open for everybody, but I think the large scale of developing community is the piece that we'd want to focus on with the freshmen and then build from there. All right on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So I feel like I'm doing the talking.
Ms. Giglio?
Even though she did not have a speaking role tonight, I would like to thank Ms. Merrill for inspiring her students to do this wonderful work.
So I think with what Dr. McKinney has said, which is all of what you're asking for is already outlined in policy, how we've been typically doing the ESSER funds, and then kind of just getting the student buy-in. I don't think we need a motion to continue on with this. I think it just needs to go. Get approval from administration. I don't think, we're not changing any policies. We're not adding a curriculum. We're just increasing opportunities for positive student engagement. So unless there's objection, I think we can just let administration continue on with their initial plan, which was, congratulations, you guys came up with a good plan.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Good, I like that plan.
Okay. Well, thank you, guys. I'm excited to see it come to fruition. I have a soft spot in my heart for restorative justice, so.
We'd love to come back once things are up and running and provide feedback or things down the road as well, so.
That'd be awesome.
Be great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job, guys.
Aw. You guys just make me so happy. Okay, so next up is the consent agenda. So I would be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Giglio.
Seconded.
Ms. Lampier seconded. And we do not have anybody on the phone tonight, so we get to very quickly, I'm going to let Heather finish writing. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Let me just get that properly.
I said any opposed, and you guys said no. Sorry.
That's okay.
Those who are opposed.
Ms. Johnson and
Ms. Brown.
Ms. Brown. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So this brings us up to our first public question comment period. Wow, we are really pre-COVID conditions right now.
Is there anyone?
Mr. Claffey, do you mind getting me the sign-in?
No.
No signatures on either?
Well, nope.
All right. Well, good, we have a secret agenda point. No, I'm just kidding, we don't.
Do not joke about that.
Seriously, not funny.
A little levity always makes everybody better. Okay, so we have no public comment. So that means we are up to Dr. McKinney. Speedy.
Yes, good evening. Two great things tonight. First, just a friendly reminder, tomorrow night we have the community presentation by Justice Broderick. You don't want to miss this virtual presentation. It's at 6:30. He'll be joined by a local author. It's a virtual meeting open to all families addressing the heightened mental health concerns that schools across the state are dealing with. We'll send that information out if you didn't already see the Zoom meeting information. Second thing is, we're happy to celebrate Music and Art in Schools Month. And yesterday's edition of the Sunday Telegraph featured a great article about the student artwork at Amherst Street Elementary School. And as the funny Mr. Adamakis said, the title of the article was Art Makes You Happy. And he's right. If you look at the artwork around the schools, so many of the great exhibitions that are on in the buildings, just like Mrs. Capps has done at Amherst Street Elementary School. In addition, it's Nashua Sings Month, and thanks to the efforts of our high school and middle school teachers, the annual Nashua Plays Festival will be happening on Tuesday, April 12th, and feature a select band from both high schools under the direction of Dr. Timothy Anderson from UMass Amherst. Dr. Anderson is the director of the Minuteman Marching Band. And in addition to the high school band students performing with Dr. Anderson, a select band made up of talented student musicians from each middle school will perform that evening under the direction of Kristen Olson, the director of the Nashua High School North Band. And then on Tuesday, April 19th, the middle school and high school jazz bands and choirs will perform as part of Nashua High School South Jazz Night. The evening will feature a guest performance from the Alvern High School Jazz Band. The South Jazz Band will be premiering a newly commissioned piece called Yours in Mine, and this composition was written by Thomas Anthony Souza in 1942 as a present to his wife, Rita, before he was drafted. And Mr. Souza is our Mr. Souza's grandfather. Mr. Souza is the Fairgrounds Middle School music teacher and head music teacher for the school district. World-renowned composer, arranger Craig Skeffington did the arrangement and will be in attendance that evening for the South Jazz Band performance. Other schools have scheduled individual instrumental and chorus performances this month as well, and we applaud the creativity of all our students and teachers. And most of these performances will be available on ETV. In fact, Nashua Sings is now available for viewing on the Nashua ETV YouTube channel. So thank you again, and enjoy celebrating Music and Art in Schools Month.
Excellent, thank you. Next, we have board response to superintendent's comments. Oh, do you have a question, or do you want to go first for board member comments?
I just wanted to have a comment about the...
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Dr. McKinney. First of all, I want to say thank you. And if people look around this room and you see the beautiful art that we have in here every month that rotates from our students, and we have to say this is wonderful. I would love to have one of the choruses in here to sing for us at the beginning as a presentation in here. And I remember when my children were at Ledge Street with Mr. Goomis, what a wonderful music teacher he was. And that would be a nice presentation to hear some of our students sing at the beginning. They can sing the national anthem for us right at the beginning. But I just want to say, every time, every month, when we have our meeting twice a month, take a look at the art that changes around in this room, and we see the talent that we have in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. So we will go around, start off with, did you go first last time too? No.
Today?
No, in prior meetings, but I'm just kidding.
I got number 2. Christina's number 1.
Oh, that's right, we're out of,
You told me.
He took my number 1 seat.
I tried, I walked.
These chairs have wheels on them, Christina.
Throw the dice here, we just.
We need restorative justice.
All right, so we'll just go around the horseshoe. So, okay. Mr. Claffey, you can go first for board member response to superintendent's comments.
I was thinking that if and when we approve the contract, that would be a wonderful opportunity for the chorus to come and maybe hallelujah or. Yes.
Ms. Lampier?
I don't have any comments right now, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Johnson, do you want to add on to anything?
No, I'm just chuckling here with hallelujah.
Ms. Raymond?
Yeah, thank you. Hold on. Thank you, Dr. McKinney. And I would just like to request that you send that Zoom information out to the board because I don't know what I did with it. So it sounds really interesting. Thank you.
Ms. Darling?
I just want to say I love the idea of them coming in and singing for us. Performances in general always make me happy.
Ms. Brown?
Thanks. Actually, I just wanted to also draw attention to the Justice coming in. I can't think of his last name. Broderick, thank you. And is that link available to the entire parent body and all that kind of thing too? Yeah. If you didn't tune in, we talked about it during a curriculum meeting, and a really great opportunity to have a well, actually, can I follow up and ask Dr. Sarfty to give a little quick brief thing about it? Because it's a really great opportunity for the community.
Sure, absolutely. So Justice Broderick is kind of a local superstar. He's amazing and certainly is a proponent of making sure that we attend to the mental health needs of our community. He has quite a compelling story that involves his own son. And the person who will be accompanying him tomorrow night is a local author named Irene Bouchine. And Irene is going to be reading a story that she wrote about a little boy who is suffering from depression. So there will be a conversation that happens, but also she'll be reading this amazing story that I think everybody will be greatly impacted by.
So thank you for reminding and bringing that to attention. Thank you.
Ms. Gilio?
I just wanted to say that I'm always excited when March comes around because of our celebration of art and music. And I wanted to say that I'm grateful that there was talk in Concord within the last couple of weeks about taking away some of these programs that actually inspire a lot of our students to come to school in the first place. And I'm so glad that it did not move forward. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. McKinney, for those updates. I have nothing to add. Now it's student member of the board comments.
Hold on, the mic's okay. But thank you for that. I just want to say, with like current events of what's going on at South, this Friday we have our first annual St. Patrick's Day junior-senior volleyball tournament. It's right after school at 2:30, and tickets are just $2. Additionally, the class of 2023 is going to be having their J-Prom on April 8th, so tune in for more information on the Google Classroom. Additionally, just wanted to thank Ms. Merrill's class. I know that they're not here right now, but I'm looking forward to seeing the results of the restorative justice program. I think it's going to be amazing. Additionally, thank you to the staff from Amherst Street for their presentation, and just like addressing the NTU contract. I know that the students especially are looking forward to seeing this contract resolved. As a club leader, being unable to meet with my club for the past, I don't know how many weeks, it's been hard for us and as well. And we're just glad that progress is finally being made and that we can get back to normalcy in every way possible. And I know that in the very beginning of the meeting, Ms. Bishop talked a little bit about respect, especially at the board meetings, and I appreciate that a lot. The last full board meeting was rough, to say the least. But talking about respect, we got rid of the mask mandate, and I want to say that I know a lot of students and parents were concerned that some students weren't going to be respected for their decision whether or not to wear a mask. And I'm very pleased to let the board know that this transition has been seamless, and I haven't heard of any instances of any criticism of a student's choice. And I'm just glad that we are trying to move away from this we're getting out of this COVID bubble, and it's amazing. And another thing that I just want to bring light to the board, I want to address the academic inequality between the two high schools, specifically regarding the retake policies. So here at South, it's pretty well known amongst the students that if you do not get credit on, or you score very low on an assessment, you can retake up to a B- per competency. And for how many times you want to retake an assessment, that depends on the level of the course, whether it's extensions, foundation, honors, or AP. And versus at North, where I'm not sure the specifics of it, but I've taken classes at North, and I have a lot of friends who are taking classes at North right now. And there, the policy is much more lenient. You can retake assessments almost an unlimited amount of time, depending on the teacher, up to an A and earn full credit, versus at South, where it's much more strict. And I just want to say that I think that it's just not fair for us South students. It doesn't make sense to. Our students in both high schools can take classes in both schools. When they send their transcripts over to the college isn't going to know that they had the hard teacher at Nashua South, or they had the easier teacher at Nashua North, who had a more flexible retake policy. And I think that I guess what I'm asking for is that the Curriculum and Evaluation Committee to take a closer look at the intricacy behind this policy and to come back to the board with their findings. I think that promoting academic equality amongst both high schools should be one of our top priorities. I know it's mine. And I understand and encourage that each high school student body has their own uniqueness and their own character and attitude. But like I said earlier, the schools in some capacity, they do work as one, especially when it comes to scheduling and courses. So it just only makes sense for us as a board to just come to a conclusion on this and have some uniformity in this policy between both schools. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rogers?
So to speak on the equity or equality of the retake policy at North and South, I do stress that we look into it, and I think when we had our superintendent interviews, it really, I know for me at least, it brought to light the importance of having North and South equal, because we do work so close together, and the schools are really connected. All right. So to start off, I'd like to say there have been 0 new reported cases of COVID infections in Hillsborough County for the past 2 days, according to the New York Times. And I think this is something we should all celebrate, as in the health and well-being of our community. It's a small victory, and the fight to complete safety from COVID is obviously not over yet, but I'm so thankful we've been on the better end of things for now. In other news, this Friday and Saturday, March 18th and 19th, North presents to you Senior Night Live, a comedy show brought to you by the senior class of 2022. And the tickets are $7 and can be brought at the door, so come show some support.
Thank you. Mr. Sahu?
I just wanted to add one more thing on the retake policy. I did email the board earlier tonight 2 syllabuses of same-leveled AP courses differing at Nashua High School South and Nashua High School North, and I did highlight the specific policy regarding retake in yellow, so it'll be pretty easy for you guys to view that and view the differences.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are on to Ms. Brown.
Happy to go first for our response to the board member. Can we just student quote? Can I respond?
Sure.
Thanks. So as the chair of curriculum evaluation, I think this is absolutely a reasonable thing to bring up for discussion, making sure that there is consistency between the 2 schools in our retake policy, whether both schools are adhering to it in the same volume of strictness. I mean, teachers do have latitude for their own classrooms, but I think it's definitely valuable. So if Dr. Sarfty and Dr. McKinney are good with it, I think it's definitely worth adding to our agenda. All right, thank you.
Dr. McKinney?
I would just caution the board in giving the administration the opportunity to look into the surprise concerns that come to light at a board meeting without due diligence. It could be an isolated piece. I haven't consulted with the high school principals, the other assistant superintendent here. Certainly, I'm sorry that's the experience of one student who talked to some friends of his and some friends at a high school, but out of the 3,000 or 4,000 kids that are at both high schools, I think we need to look at the larger picture. So I think it'd be fruitful before we engage in any conversation around amending policy or making assumptions or, drawing conclusions from such isolated information, that we get all the information available and have some head teachers here, assistant principals and principals to look at what is the common practice across both high schools in a more just judicial and careful way, as opposed to just an allegation that is brought up at a board meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, we can follow the chain of command in regards to this. We'll go up to principals, and then administration will work on it, and then we can see what happens from there. Ms. Raymond?
Oh, sorry, my hand is here. Yes. I'd like to thank Mr. Sahu for bringing it to the attention of us and administration, and thank you to Dr. McKinney for committing to looking into it.
Thank you. Okay, so first committee, our next committee, our first meeting on budget was March 9th, which was very interesting. I hope everybody got to watch that. What?
Do I get to talk about it?
Sure.
Sorry, I am the chair for now. You can be the chair.
I just didn't think there was anything to talk about. We had it. It's done. Mr. Donovan did a fantastic job.
So two things I just want to report on budget. Everyone should watch it, first of all. Second, Dr. McKinney and Mr. Donovan did a great job. They presented the superintendent's budget, which is very clear. Also, we highlighted the letter from the mayor saying that he would like us to stick to a 3%-ish budget this year, which is significantly higher than the last couple of years. And on top of that, he is going to pay $2.3-ish million towards the increase in the teacher salaries. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, our next committee, finance, policy, and curriculum and evaluation are all happening next week, right, guys? Yep. So finance is on Thursday. Okay, so we'll have updates on those policies at their next board meeting. The next committee we have Ms. Giglio, Committee on Human Resources.
Hi, we met earlier this evening, and we approved the personnel recommendations dated March 14th, 2022. We also approved the recommendation for the updated non-affiliated handbook.
Would you like to make a motion to waive the rules in regards to the meeting, to put it on, what is it? So has it?
I move to suspend the rules.
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
To consider
Second.
tonight's.
Just read them out loud. Okay, I got it. I'm new at this job. Okay. I recommend to move that we approve.
Wait.
We have to vote on the suspension first.
I just had to write down the motion. I don't know why it doesn't come in here, but because we have it every time.
Okay, got it.
So on that motion, you can go. The motion to suspend the rules.
Mm-hmm. You have the first and the second?
I have the first and the second.
Okay. On the motion to suspend the rules, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Great.
Motion passes.
Okay. I would like to move that we approve the personnel recommendations dated March 14th, 2022.
Second.
Okay. On the motion to approve, On the motion to approve the recommendations presented March 14th, 2022, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
I move that we approve the updated non-affiliated handbook presented earlier this evening.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the updated non-affiliated handbook, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, great. Okay, liaison reports. Did we have JSSBC since the last meeting? Nope, so we have no updates for that. The next piece that we're going on to is in regards to unfinished business. This is health and safety. Dr. McKinney, do you want to expound upon that?
Yes, so a lot happened between our meeting and the end of the month. So the memo included in the packet is to bring us up to date with compliance around what's going around the state. So the changes are the 5 things there: continuing to follow public guidance from public health, following the guidelines for our isolation and quarantine. Any clusters and outbreaks may require 14-day masking as advised by public health. Face masks are strongly encouraged but not mandatory. That began based on the board vote Monday, February 28th. And if you're returning from a 5-day ISO period, you have to wear a mask for 5 days. So the change was that the masks are no longer required on school buses. So I took that piece out. So a new motion by the board to approve these health and safety measures would bring us up to date with the state of affairs. Thank you.
Excellent.
So I'd like to move to approve the updated health and safety measures as listed in the March 11th, 2022 memo from Dr. McKinney.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Lampier. Discussion, Ms. Johnson?
Thank you. I'd like to amend that because I want to make it very clear, although we say that masks are no longer required on buses, I'd like to, because the last time we were here and we made the motion, we just made the motion to remove the mask and make it optional for students. And we didn't do it for anybody else, because I went back over the motion, and I've got it here somewhere. I missed all my pages. Ms. Brown moved, okay, which one was it? Ms. Brown moved, second by Ms. Ziem, to amend the motion to edit line 5 to have masks become optional, recommended on February 28th. It doesn't say very much of anything on this motion, because I asked Ms. Kinsella if I could get the motions. And so what I really think it needs to be, that so we have it very clear throughout the whole district, that the motion really we should update it to say that masks will be optional among students, staff, and on the buses, the school buses, and staff does not have to wear it on the buses.
So I think we can say students and staff, but First Student buses are hired by a different company, and we can't tell them what to do. So First Student would be telling their bus drivers if masking is optional, which the new federal regulation just does.
Right, but may I ask Dr. McKinney a question? The, other than the bus drivers, anybody else that's on the bus, are they employed by the district on the special ed buses, or are they employed by First Student?
Anybody, an adult on the bus other than a student would be employed by First Student or a contractor that works for the district or the bus company. So 2 things. One, the piece where it says follow public health guidance, that gives us a little wiggle room when the guidance changes. That changed over the break. I sent it out the Monday we came back, so we're no longer adhering to mandatory masking on buses. And 2, are you suggesting that we're policing the use of masking or asking students and staff to require masks? Because that hasn't been the case.
I want to make sure that it's completely optional now, because there's been some confusion. I've gotten some calls from parents. They were confused because some kids were told that they still had to wear masks. And I just want to make sure that the motion and whatever, because we don't have a policy that we even can go back and amend and say this is where we are at this point in time. We never had a policy. We never had a policy for students that medically couldn't wear a mask or for religious reasons. So the cleanest way right now is just to put a motion here that masks are optional among students, staff, and on for student buses, or any buses that they need, even if they're out of district with other types of transportation. It just cleans the whole thing up.
Dr. McKinney?
I only heard of a minor confusion the Monday we came back, because a lot happened over break. So when my notice went out, I didn't hear of any confusion regarding the buses. So if you got a handful of phone calls from 12,000 people, I think that's a very small sample size. I think I would caution the board in fine-toothing or, getting specific with the motion, because if you have any further questions or concerns, we have to come back and amend it. The reopening plan serves as policy. It's been that case all the way through, and that's what the School Boards Association required. We've been strongly recommending masking since we came back, and there have been little to few challenges I've heard. The only thing I've heard is surprises in terms of the high number of kids at the high school level that are wearing masks in the beginning, and it's 50-50 all over the place. So any suggestion that there's still confusion or that we're being the mask police is grossly inadequate.
But if there's no problem, then why just make the motion so it's just clean housekeeping? So there's no confusion, so somebody can go in and, since they don't have a policy, they can go in and look at motions and see what we made. It's just basically a house cleaning motion, just so there's no more confusion here.
So do you want to just say health and safety measures listed above on the February 21st, 2022 memo regarding students and district staff?
Wait, what?
How about you add any one on school grounds, and then it gets everybody.
On school grounds and on buses. Because now the feds do not require the students to wear masks on school buses.
But we can't tell the bus drivers what to do because
I don't care
they're
about the
not
bus drivers,
our
this is the
employees.
students.
No, yeah, students on the bus, yeah, that's part of the memo.
It's just a house cleaning. Because we
Yeah.
never make policies here, all we do is do motions. And it gets confusing to people.
So are you making that a motion?
I'm making that a motion that masks will be optional for all students and staff on school grounds and on first students bus, and
on
any
buses.
school transportation.
So the amendment is to add, masks will be optional on school grounds.
Are you, hold on, are you just amending, I don't mean to interrupt, are you talking about the sign, you're talking about number 4, right? So face masks are strongly recommended beginning on Monday. May I make a suggestion that it would be the housekeeping item and also not making us have to add a whole other sentence? We change it to masks are strongly recommended, or masks are optional beginning Monday, February for anyone on our campuses or on our transportation.
Perfect.
And then you can just add those 2 sentences to that one line, and it will,
So,
I don't think everybody, it'll be clean and fine.
so I just want to make sure I have it written down properly. The amendment is to amend number 4 on the memo to read, face masks are, you want to get rid of strongly recommended and change it to optional. Face masks are
For everyone.
optional for everyone
on school grounds and on transportation.
grounds
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
and transportation. Beginning
Last week.
Yep.
Madam President,
Yes, Dr. McKinney?
could I just make a friendly suggestion, and could it read, face
Whatever.
masks are optional for employees and students, period?
Yeah.
I would advise not getting into the transportation piece and advise against school grounds. Does that mean after school, before school, at night events? I would just advise simpler is better. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson and Ms. Brown?
Well, what about evenings? Parents, they don't have to, and the athletes, when they go to basketball games or anything. I want to make sure that masks are optional.
Okay.
Optional.
So,
Ms. Darling?
So if this isn't really like a huge issue at this point, obviously there will always be the handful of people who need a million forms of clarification, but I almost feel like making this motion just becomes a little micromanagey, and that people should be able to parents that didn't want a mask have made it very clear from day one whether they wanted to or not, and if they did not want to wear a mask, the minute they could, they took them off, and it didn't matter what anyone said. I just want to kind of caution us going into micromanagement mode when we have hired amazing individuals to help set forth the rules.
Is this just in case the city goes and changes a mask policy, then we have to come back here and amend our policy to match the city policy and just kind of create more time?
Well, we're autonomous from the city to begin with.
Well, if they say you have to mask indoors, we still have to do it.
We're
If the city says
autonomous.
it.
We would have to come back and vote on it because we are autonomous from the city. Yes.
Well, if the city's, okay, I don't care. Let's just vote on this motion. It's just, we're just wasting time on words that mean nothing. So we have a first and second. Ms. Lampier?
I just think that.
We're going to be voting on the amendment.
The difference between strongly recommend and optional there's really not a difference.
There's not a lot of difference in any of this. It's just making sure that people feel heard. So we'll keep going.
okay, on the motion is to amend number 4 on the memo to read, face masks are optional for everyone on school grounds and transportation beginning Monday, February 28th, 2022. Yes? Got that right? And it was made by Ms. Johnson and seconded by Ms. Brown. Okay. So, an aye vote means we amend it, and nay vote means we do not. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed?
Nay.
No.
No.
All right, so I have yes, Ms. Brown, and Ms. Johnson, and noes, the rest, 6 people. All right, so the motion does not pass.
So now we go back to the original motion, that is to approve the health and safety measures from the memo dated February 21st, 2022, as presented.
Yes. No, the memo dated March 11th. Is that what you said?
Yep, that's what I meant, sorry.
Yep, the memo dated March 11th, which I assume can be then posted or attached or whatever. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No. Yes.
Wait, one opposition, which was
One opposition.
Ms. Johnson. Okay.
Because you want us to keep wearing masks.
No.
No, I'm just kidding, Ms. Johnson.
Policy.
Okay. Okay, so let's keep moving on. Okay. So under new business, Dr. McKinney, or is Mr. Donovan going to be speaking to this, the bonding of Franklin Street School?
Mr. Smith is here too.
And I see Mr. Smith.
We have a very famous guest tonight who came just to speak about this.
Oh my gosh. Shall we stand?
I think Mr. Smith was trying to quietly hide, but we don't have a big audience. Just say, is that a St. Patrick's Day time, Mr. Smith?
Yes, it is. Very festive green shirt.
Very nice. Sorry. Mr.
Irish
Smith?
cap.
Hey!
Mr. Smith has a lot of really fun holiday-themed ties.
Ooh.
I appreciate it.
In the summertime, you'll see me in Hawaii shirts and shorts and whatnot. Thank you for that introduction, Mr. Mr. Donovan. So I'm here fresh from another meeting. I came from Capital Improvement Committee where I presented the,
Is your mic on?
it is on, but it's probably not close. Here we go.
Jimmy gave you the thumbs up.
Okay. I came from the Capital Improvement Committee for the city, where I presented our capital improvement plan for the next 6 years, included all deferred maintenance requests plus the capital requests. So the deferred maintenance was, you've already approved all that stuff, and the capital requests started with Franklin Street. All the other requests, the Birch Hill, the Main D, the Stella Stadium, those were in the out years. So I'm here to talk about Franklin Street. So this went to joint special. It was already given to joint special by this board, and they approved at their last meeting for the chairman to go to the alderman for a bond of 4.9 and change. He rounded up to $5 million. So a resolution was drafted and sent to the alderman for $5 million. They referred it to their budget committee. In the meantime, Corporation Council indicated that this has to get approved by the school board, even though it already went to joint special, even though joint special includes 5 school board members, which constitutes a quorum of this group. But here we are. So if you, hopefully in the packet, you received this PowerPoint presentation. This is what I gave to the joint special. Do I need to go through the history of this? Basically,
In depth.
We purchased it a year ago for the Brentwood program and for the preschool program, and we've occupied it successfully this past September, and we've unfortunately can only occupy the first floor and the third floor. So Brentwood program is on the third floor, and the preschool is on the first floor. There's also a basement, which is partially occupied primarily by preschool at this point. They use it for OT, PT, and also for indoor recess during inclement weather. So why can't we use the second floor? Because after we purchased the building and started to set everything up, the fire department said we cannot have preschoolers on the second floor. The reason for that is you cannot have high school students tromping down the stairwells during an emergency over little kids. It doesn't make for a good scene. And so they said we need to have a separate means of egress. Turned over to the architect, they suggested 2 exterior stairwells. So we actually went through that whole process. We went through the building plans. Price tag for that alone was $1.5 million. In the meantime, we looked at other things. The facility lacks a handicap access ramp at its main entrance. There are stairs there, but no ramp. We are able to get past, or at least get the temporary certificate of occupancy because there is access through the rear entrance on Winter Street, which is the backside. So that's another item for the bond, which I'll talk about a little bit more. Parts of the facility are not ADA compliant. There are not ADA compatible bathrooms on any of the floors. We do have single-person bathrooms, but they don't have the swing space for a wheelchair. So you have to be able to open the door and be able to move around. The handrails and the stairwells are not for little kids. They're for adults. So those have to get replaced. And a host of other issues that we need to address. We've already started the architect on a lot of these things. They should be able to finalize the egress stairwell design by the end of this month. We're at a kind of a tipping point of trying to get all this stuff approved by the end of this month, and speaking to the special education department, because if they're not going to be able to occupy the second floor, they need to know by the end of March so they can make contingency plans elsewhere than the district. We've been pushing to not have to have that happen and actually to make use of that second floor. While all this is going on, we also took advantage of ESSER funds. So when we purchased this facility, we knew it had some things that we had to improve over time. One was the ventilation system. So ESSER funds were kind of pennies from heaven, so to speak. Bad thing, it was COVID. good we got money to improve ventilation at the facility. So that number that we're putting in from there is about $5 million, between $5 and $6 million. The good thing about improving ventilation is all the ductwork is above the ceiling. A lot of the piping is above the ceiling. The piping contains asbestos. So not only do we get new ventilation system, but we get a new ceiling. We get all the asbestos removed. We get the new piping. Because we're taking the ceiling down, we got all new, brand new lighting, which is all the LED lighting. So ESSER funding is going to be paying for a lot of the stuff that's going into the school. That's all going to be happening starting, it's already started. So we've already identified, we've already stripped out a couple spaces on each floor for the air handler. So there's going to be cooling on each floor and an air handler that services each floor. The bulk of the work will actually start during April vacation when we're vacating the second floor and doing what asbestos abatement we have to do that week, and then stripping out the rest of the ceilings and whatnot during the rest of the school year. So that brings us to, that'll be done for the start of the next school year. So that brings us to this proposed bond. As I said, it's gone to capital improvement earlier tonight. It's been through joint special. It's been introduced to the aldermen. It's going to the aldermen. It's been to their budget committee. They have a hearing next Monday night that I'll get to go to, and I'll give this same presentation to. They'll vote on it later that night. Then the following night, the aldermen meet again and hopefully pass the same bond. But we need you to vote for it first, and hopefully, I'm recommending you vote in affirmative. So it's $5 million. Within this presentation, there's probably about 8-9 sheets down. There's kind of a summary of the cost for this. It's $3.8 million of construction costs. The architect costs $240,000 in round numbers. Professional consultants. So in addition to the things I've already talked about, as far as the stairwells, ADA compliance, handicap ramp, you're all familiar with the traffic around that facility. Franklin Street is it's a main road, and traffic doesn't really slow down very well. They put a stop sign at the corner, but even I've gone through the stop sign because I'm not used to stop sign being there. It's just, shh, don't take note of that. It was a mistake. And then a little, not to over dramatize the whole thing, but people take their lives in their hands when there's just a 2-lane road and you have to open the door, get out, take your kid out of the car, and then come back again. So we've hired, actually, you've already approved the traffic consultant to look at that. We've already met with them a couple times when we're thrashing through different ideas for that. We've already met with, and we've already had the geotechnical engineer there to test the soils so that we can apply that towards the egress towers. So part of this budget is, once we get the recommendations back from the traffic consultant, then we can do something about the traffic. Whether we cut into the site that we have already to have a place where drop-offs can occur, or we actually talked to the Pastor Berube, who is National Christian Academy owned it before we did. They actually used one of the parking lots for their egress means. So it was actually, we hadn't thought about that. That was actually a pretty good idea. So the traffic consultant was taking a lot of notes at that point, and that would probably be one of our recommendations that we do. Because we want to get, he said he didn't use Franklin Street at all. He wouldn't allow anybody to drop off. And if you've ever been there during drop-off pickup, it's not a good scene. So then there's other assorted consultants that we'd have to hire to get this through. And I guess I'll stop at that point and ask if you have any questions.
Mr. Claffey?
I move that we approve the Franklin Street improvement funding, bonding.
So it's on the memo. So the recommendation is,
The Franklin Street school building improvements.
so to recommend the JSBBC pursue a $5 million bond to cover the costs associated with the Franklin Street School, Phase 2.
Mine is a little shorter, but I move that we do that.
Yeah, so just for, I keep whipping my glasses off, but they'll send us out the memo and their recommendation, and just The way Tara does the notes is she already has that written down.
Well, sort of, but in this case, I'd suggest that we use that specific language since it's from Corporation Counsel.
Is that okay?
Oh, sure, I figured Heather would read
Yeah.
and not listen to me anyway.
You have to turn your mic on, Mr. Claffey. No one's listening to you.
I move that we approve this plan as specified, as laid out in the document in
Okay,
Ms.
so
Raymond's hand.
the motion that was proposed is to move to recommend the JSSBC pursue a $5 million bond to cover the costs associated with the Franklin Street School Phase 2 construction and renovation project. I will second it if that's your motion.
Thank you, it is.
Okay.
Any discussion, questions? Mr. Smith, were you done with your whole presentation? Okay. Ms. Brown?
I just had 2 questions. My first was regarding the traffic. Is once we get the traffic recommendation back from the consultant, do you think the city is going to kick in for any of that if it's using any of those roads or there requires any kind of widening or narrowing?
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. We haven't had that discussion about money with them yet. Some of the things that can also be done, that we have talked with them about, is making Winter Street a one-way street. So that's the street that's to the north of the site. It's very congested. Sometimes the neighbors or visitors of the neighbors will park in the street, and it's tough. It becomes basically a one-lane road at that point. So maybe there's no parking during school hours on that street. But in terms of asking them, and there may be other measures that they can do. You've seen, like, next to Charlotte Avenue, you have one of those flashing stop signs. Kind of a speed bump thing there, I think. Also a raised crosswalk, things like that they might be able to help us with, but we haven't had that conversation with them yet.
I feel like Alderman Dowd spoke to it at our last meeting. He had some ideas that he was going to bring back to the Board of Aldermen, which was dependent on what the traffic consultant was saying, but he was leaning towards those options as well. Ms. Brown?
My other question is, if we get this bond approved this evening, do you think the work that's going to be scheduled, will it be scheduled and completed in time for fall 2022 for full occupancy?
So the way we've looked at this work, the ESSER-funded work would all occur between April and August. Some of this work will be done, but there are some things in here that we hold off until next year. Because there's so much going on, there's just not enough time to get to everything. So the roof replacement, for example, would be summer of 2023. If we took down the walls on the 3rd floor and replaced them, that would be summer 2023. Flooring replacement would be summer 2023.
But we will, at least we'll have the egress for the fire escapes done so that we can use the upper floors of the building, correct?
That's like the most important thing of this part of work.
Thank you.
Ms. Johnson?
Thank you. Will we be able to get another tour of this shortly to see all the work that was done? Because last year we were in there before any work was done, right after we purchased it.
I'd be happy to give you a tour anytime you want. I just gave a tour to one of your fellow Board of Ed members today.
Okay. So would we reach out to you, or do we have to go through Dr. McKinney? Go through you, Dr. McKinney? Okay, that's not a problem. And I remember when I was on the Board of Aldermen, when we built this high school, and also with Bishop Girton, we had to restrict parking in the neighborhoods during school hours. So, I mean, that might be something so this way the cars aren't on both sides, so you're not really disrupting anything else. So this $5 million, is this going to cover all the remainder of the work, or are we going to have to ask for another bond? Because I heard that he's going to be bonding a lot this year, so I'm sure the taxes are going to go through the roof.
Well, I think we're fortunate that we do have the ESSER funding that's doing a lot of the work we'd hoped to get done sooner than we anticipated doing it. So I expect that this will get pretty much everything done that we need to do. The school will be good to go for a good number of years thereafter.
Okay, so this $5 million in the ESSER funds, and if we could find other ESSER funds to work into this, then we might be able to use that versus all the bond money.
No, because ESSER funds, you're probably aware, it's and Mr. Donovan probably speak even better to it, but it's primarily for, at any time. We're talking about ESSER funds. So in our case, we're using ESSER funds for things related to ventilation to COVID, right? And that's what ESSER funds are for.
Yeah, I just wanted to know
I
if there was
couldn't
any
use
other.
them to build walls, for example.
Right, so we're taking complete use of everything we can with the ESSER funds in this school.
Yes,
And this is the leftover that we have to pay out of a bond?
yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Ms. Lampier?
Well, first, I'd like to apologize to Dr. McKinney, because I was the one that got the tour today, and I didn't know that I was supposed to reach out to you. And thank you to Mr. Smith for giving me the tour. And while I was there, we went into the preschool bathrooms, and I noticed that currently the kids, they have pads on the floor to change the kids' diapers. You know, it's a Title I preschool, so some of the kids are still in diapers. And I spoke to Mr. Smith in hopes that they would be building a changing table preschool size in the bathrooms for the kids, especially in the boys' bathroom. It was really bothersome because the pad's right next to the urinals. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to ask, and to go from, how do you go from idle conversation with me and Mr. Smith to actually making sure that that is included in the project?
Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith takes a note, which you just did. And I take, so one of the items on that list that I was reading from for the, how it makes up a cost for a project is an item called FF&E. That's furnishings, fixtures, and equipment. So in this case, I don't know if necessarily if we build something in or if you have changing tables, right? You can buy changing tables. You can do it either way, but you could build them in or
Yeah, standard changing tables are usually for kids that are younger than preschool age. So I think that it would need to be bigger than that. I just wanted to make sure that they have them so they don't have to change the kids on the bathroom floor.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so on the motion to pursue the $5 million bond that has been, any other comments? Okay, so on the motion to pursue the $5 million bond, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Smith. And
have a good evening.
you're not going to stay? No. I think the best part of these meetings is when Jimmy in the back laughs and nobody can hear him on TV, but we can. So we'll just look like we're responding to some ghost in the room. Okay, so the next thing up is the non-affiliated, the non-affiliated employee salary increases, but you guys did that in HR, right?
No,
No? Okay.
we just looked at the handbook.
Oh, the handbook. Okay, sorry. Dr. McKinney, do you want to speak to the employee salary increases?
Included in your packet, I believe it's confidential that came through. These are salary increases for all non-affiliated employees, any employees that are not part of the other 7 or 6 or 7 bargaining units. This goes from everything from people in district office all the way down to the building level, including personnel like crossing guards, lunch monitors, other non-affiliated staff. If there are any further questions, I'd ask for discretion, and I'm happy to answer them in non-public. Thank you.
Do we have any reason to go into non-public about this, or can we all just read it and then make a motion? Okay. Ms. Raymond?
I move to approve the salary increases in the chart that we received.
Second.
That's not a good motion.
No.
That's really bad.
Yep.
Move to approve the non-affiliated employee salary increases dated 2021.
Second.
There you go.
Thank you. You can go.
It's okay. You're like my pace car. I've never watched racing, but I assume that's what that means.
Makes everybody slow down, so yeah.
Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Public comments.
And next up, we go back to our agenda. Now we're up to second public comment. Did anybody come in and sign up? Mr. Marcoux, just for fun, you want to say hi? Make us feel important again? Okay, well, with no second public comment, we're on to board member comments. And this time, I'm going to bop around the circle this way. So, Ms. Giglio, you can kick it off.
I was just, would like it, and I don't know if this is totally appropriate, but I think it would be nice if we could have a moment of silence for the people in Ukraine. Is this okay to do at our meeting?
Yeah.
May we do that now?
Sure.
Thank you.
You guide us in and out. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Giglio. That was very thoughtful. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Ms. Brown?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Darling?
No comment.
Okay. Ms. Raymond?
Okay, I have a couple comments. First, I was horrified to hear that our student reps were subjected to hateful and racist heckling during the last meeting. I just want to make sure that we're all clear that our students belong here and racism does not. And then on to my normal community news bulletin. UNH Cooperative Extension has a free seed program for educators. So if you go onto the UNH Cooperative Extension's website, they will send any educator who wants one packets of seeds to facilitate growing activities within your classroom. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that Nashville Parks and Rec has started to put out their summer programming guide. So if you go on their website, now is a great time to start looking at summer camps and summer programming for kids. So that's all I have right now.
Excellent. Ms. Johnson?
I'm good.
Thank you. Ms. Lampier?
So I did not know about the comments that were made at the last meeting directed towards you guys. I'm very sorry about that. But I did pick up on some comments conflating trans children and sexual attacks in the audience last time, and it was very upsetting. I just wanted to remind everyone that those children are also students in our schools, and we have a duty to protect them. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lampier. Mr. Coffey? Claffey? I need a coffee.
What did you say?
I said Mr. Coffee. But I've been looking at you with your coach Claffey and a coffee mug. It makes complete sense in my head. No comment? Okay. I feel like I have already spoken my piece in regards to our district. And I have nothing else to add. Thank you, administration, for putting together all of the information tonight for our meeting. And thank you to our board members for coming and being prepared. And I look forward to our next board meeting in a couple of weeks, but we have a couple of committee meetings next week. So I would be looking for a
Motion to adjourn, so moved. Second.
Dang, Paula. Okay, on the motion to adjourn, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, so our meeting is adjourned at 7:46.